Hey guys, welcome to the Sav Show. My name is Savilian. I'm the host of this show. Today we're talking about UFC, and in particular, I want to talk about Israel Adesanya. I want to talk about the style bender, and I want to talk about how he has just delivered one of the most poetic and beautiful moments in all sporting history. You know, something that if you're a sports fiend, if you're a martial arts fiend, if you're a combat sports fiend, you have just witnessed something that you're gonna hold dear to you for the rest of your life. Like the analogies and the stories and the kind of parallels that can be, you know, drawn and teased out of this entire saga are just amazing. They're the stuff that, like, you know, we're getting. This is the core of. I mean, it's not the core. I'm not going to get too like fucking fanciful with it and over the top. Like, I'm not going to dramatize the whole bullshit. But this is beautiful. This is poetic. This is beautiful. This is the story. This is the fight game. And it was just so fucking beautiful to watch, man. So if you weren't privy to the information, let me just give you a quick recap. Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, had defended his belt or won the belt once and then defended it like 5 or 6 times. Was on the verge of being considered probably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, you know, at least of the, you know, his generation, at least in the middleweight division. Anyway, striking, you know, genius, just a once in a generation kind of fighter. Now, he went up against a guy who was considered to be his biggest threat, Alex Pereira, a guy that had beaten him twice in their kickboxing careers back in the day, I think like 5 years ago and then 10 years ago or 8 years ago, something like that. And this guy had only been in the UFC a little while, like only 7 or so fights, but Izzy wanted to give him a shot at the title, mainly because Izzy, I think, needed a challenge, but also the headlines, the storyline of, you know, this guy from Izzy's past coming to beat this undefeated UFC champion, et cetera, et cetera. It did set it up perfectly. Izzy ended up losing in dramatic fashion, 5th round, knockout. Little controversial, but I think it was a fair stoppage. At the end of the day, he lost his belt to this guy, Alex Pereira. Now, a lot of doubt started creeping in. Mainly from the commentators. I'm sure there would have been doubt in Izzy's mind, but there was a lot of commentary around, you know, does he have what it takes to beat Pereira? Is he strong enough will? And, you know, can he match the, you know, stone hands of Alex Pereira? I didn't even mean to accent it like that. I'm sorry. But yeah, you know, could Izzy go toe-to-toe with this like monster, this like big rock of a human being that just comes forward and just throws bombs? Like, does Izzy have what it takes? Does he have the weapons? And man, did he ever? That honestly, that you know, the second fight, because Izzy said straight away, I want the rematch. Pereira, you know, said, sure, you deserve the rematch. Let's do it. They went straight away, back to back. I think there was only a couple months between them. Could have been more, but it felt very, very fast. Straight away, Izzy was ready to go. And he built the fuck up out of the build-up. He built it up so much because he kept feeding into the narrative that we all wanted to see play out. And it was this guy back against the wall, all right, former champion. Does he still have what it takes? And he proved that yes, absolutely. And I thought it was just magical. Now, that's kind of one pillar, is this idea of Izzy, mind over matter, just the strength of that man's mind and the champion mindset to come back and beat this guy in you know, such dominant fashion as well. That's what he said. He's like, what if I go out there and I just beat his ass? Then what? Do those 3 other ones get erased? You know, and he did it. He did it. And do you know what? I was a bit like, and you know, I'm not a, you know, fantastic MMA commentator or anything like that, but I do understand mindset and psychology to a certain extent, at least from my own understanding, point of view. So, leading up to the fight and kind of a week or two out, I wasn't 100% sold that Izzy could do it. For some reason, the week out or within 2 weeks or with like a week and a half when they started doing the press conferences and stuff, I just said to myself, this guy's not going to lose. Like, you just can't. Like, I just don't see him losing. Izzy cannot lose. Like, he's a champion. This guy done incredible shit that like we just marvel at. He picked apart some of the best fighters in the UFC, made them look like fucking chumps. Like, Izzy's a gangster. Like, he's the top of the sport for a reason. And I just looked at him and I thought, fuck, there's no way he loses. He can't lose. His story, his legacy, it all rides on this kind of moment. He's built it up. He wants this moment and he's going to own it because that's what people like him do. They own it. So, I went to see the fight and someone basically said to me, because I was working when the fight was on, but I went and watched a replay and someone said to me, yeah, he won, but the ego and the kind of bravado is a bit And that was like one of my first kind of like references to, or someone kind of like commentating on the fight. Like, he won, but ego, whatever. Now, I understand that person's point of view. And to some people, it does seem a little bit, people use the word cringe. People use the word like, showboaty, arrogant, whatever. I don't think, whilst, I can see elements of all of that, I also believe that, this man is such a fucking shining light for human potential that I'm not always saying like, look over everything, but there's so much more to him than just like, cringiness every now and then or showboatiness every now and then. Like, we can't expect everyone to be everything all of the time. Like, he's a champion fighter, a champion. Like, the guy's mindset is next level, and what he's illustrated and demonstrated over, the last few years in his sport is, greatness is capable for everyone. And the fact that he stood there in the middle of the ring and he said what he said about, experiencing happiness and getting out there and chasing something, he puts his heart on his sleeve and he just like wears it. He's not afraid of it. And you know what? Sometimes there's cringiness going to come from that. Sometimes arrogance is going to come from that. But I don't think it's from a place of wanting to be arrogant or cringy. It's just who he is. He's a champion. He has a mindset of a champion. He acts and carries himself like a champion. And just sometimes it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect to everyone all of the time. That's just a fact of it. Look, I did do a little bit of writing after I watched a fight because I was like, man, I just got to write about this. So to be in the 1% of the 1%, to be a champion, to be as successful as he has been, you have to be different. The man is flow. Like, I see him as being flow. Like, the Mikhail, oh fuck, I can't pronounce his name. But, the idea of flow, right? It's kind of like it's unwrapped. It's your unwrapped unconsciousness, kind of like existing and moving and basically I see Izzy as that. Like, he's fighting, his commentary, his thoughts, his brazenness, his geeky side, whatever. It's all flow. Everything he does is authentic and unadulterated and raw. Some call it ego, some call it arrogance, I call it excellence. This is how he communicates his excellence. Not everyone is going to fit your mold and answer your call, but it doesn't mean we should appreciate their essence any less. And that's what I think it is. That's flow, that's his essence, that's his mastery, that's his excellence. And at the end of the day, the man is a champion. And I am so happy to be alive at the time that a person, can literally have the entire world against them and come out and prove that kind of shit, because I think it's a great example of what's possible. And we all need that. We all need hope. We all need something to aspire to. We all need something to aim at. And you know, he's doing that for a lot of people. So shout out Israel Adesanya, the style bender and the last style bender and new middleweight champion of the world. Anyway, that's a South Show. I'll catch you next week. Let's go.